What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the Geek Speak Nation channel, and today I'm here to bring you my review of uh Evangelion 3.0 plus 1. God, I forgot the name. Was 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time. I think that's it. So, you have to forgive me. I know Cloud from Advent Children is chilling in the background, and yeah, I just ordered this figurine, just got it in, but I haven't set it up on the back yet with all the other ones, so I'll handle that some other time. Or he might stay here for all my other videos, who knows? Might be my little Andy Richter, you know, my little wingman for my comedic takes. Probably not. Regardless, we're off topic, and the topic that we're supposed to be talking about is the Neon Genesis Evangelion series, or just the Evangelion series in general. I cannot believe how much of my life has been absorbed thinking about this property, and I only watched it for the first time in 2019. That's when everything came to Netflix, so I was able to watch End of Evangelion and Neon Genesis, and I didn't know what to make of it at first, but as the months went on, I just kept obsessing and thinking about those works and how emotionally impactful it was for me and how much it resonated with me on an emotional level. And especially after going through the pandemic, or still technically going through that, it really affected me emotionally, and it was something I strongly connected with, especially with the main character of Shinji and just what was trying to be conveyed through that character. And with the long-awaited movies finally coming to their big conclusion with the release of 3.0 plus 1.0, God, these names are so insane. But with these movies coming to their natural conclusion, I thought, okay, well, now is a good time for me to go through and watch the Rebuild series. I think that's the shorthand that the fans end up calling it. I did not know until after I finished watching all 4 of these films that, oh boy, people have a lot of opinions on these films, and I did not know that. But thankfully, I get to go in just like a little baby bird, just being fed whatever Hideaki Anno wanted to say. And I gotta say, I've had a great time. I binged watched all the previous 3 films in one night, and then I watched the 4th film. And I gotta say, this is watching Thrice Upon a Time is an experience I feel like you can't truly appreciate unless you've watched everything that came before it. I don't know about, having to read the manga and all that stuff, yada yada, although I know some characters in there make their parents that end up getting worked into the Rebuild movies. But just the essence of watching Anno grow as an artist and what he had to say about the world and himself and depression and anxiety and acceptance of oneself was very, very fascinating. And I feel like you don't get the full story of Evangelion unless you consume all of it, from Neon Genesis to End of, and then finally here with these last 4 films. It feels like this movie is truly not just a conclusion to the new films, but a conclusion to Evangelion as a series in and of itself. Even if it ends up not being the last film or property in the series, regardless, this feels like the perfect period at the end of the sentence. This film feels like this culmination of everything, and is this massive commentary on the fandom itself, and also all of the previous works and all the previous messages that Anno has put out in the world. And again, you just truly don't get to appreciate the full journey of what, Shinji goes through as a main character if you don't watch the previous entries or consume them. Because watching it all, for me, everything so closely together, it feels like I was watching one big story or one big play being reenacted. These reenacting of cycles that were repeating themselves in different ways, but each ending was a key understanding to Anno's view of the state of the world and the state of himself and the state of humanity in general. At the end of the day, this film is very messy. Just like all the other films, certain concepts feel very rushed, especially when you get towards the end of like, what's happening? He's breaking through the gates of Fiddlefine with the spear of Libalibum, and they got it from the depths of Habakalu, and together those two will create the next Apocalypto. And you're just like, look, all right, I don't understand half of the words of jargon that these people are saying. And after a certain point, you just got to put that on the film. Like, all right, look. All right, I'm someone who appreciates the Kingdom Hearts franchise, all right? So you can be convoluted and messy, and I appreciate that. And I can respect, me as an audience goer unfairly, but still being willing to put in that work to understand half of what you're saying. But man, sometimes I just don't understand what they're talking about in half of these scenes with some of the jargon and dialogue. I'm like, okay, I didn't even know this existed until this very scene, this spear of lumbagitis or lumbago, what have you. Okay, sure. But the main thing is despite the shortcomings that the script might have and feeling rushed in certain areas or slower in others, despite those shortcomings, I truly feel like this final film still encapsulates the feelings that it wants me to have. Despite whatever crazy jargon was being said or visually what was happening on screen, I still felt the emotion. And I was so invested in everything that was happening on screen. Just because it was that wonderfully animated and the story was logistically not the best told, but emotionally very articulate and expressing how it felt. And it was super, super powerful, man. I mean, this movie, it really did move me in multiple occasions. In the beginning sequences, I won't get into spoilers, but the very, the first 20-40 minutes is very, very slow, but I loved it because it felt like I was watching Neon Genesis again, and the slow plotting or trotting, character building and this dread of this impending doom is coming, but also reveling in the beauty of mundane life. It's just so much about it just harkened back to what I loved about Neon Genesis that I didn't quite always get in the Rebuild films. There was moments I got that emulated, tried to recreate certain sequences like Shinji running away or Asuka and Rei in the elevator. Like, there was these moments that they tried to emulate the original, but it didn't quite work for me. And I think these movies worked best, especially like how they do in the fourth film, where they're like, okay, instead of trying to recreate these moments that fans actually know, let's just create new ones that take that same essence of analyzing what these characters are feeling and watching their growth slowly but surely growing into people loving or hating or shutting themselves off from life. It's just so much of that works very, very well in the beginning and harkens back a lot to the original. And I really, really enjoyed that. But everything else in the film, it still has this originality and this edge to it and this momentum that is really, really enjoyable that's been built up in these remake films. I think what the Rebuild franchise does best is it just gives you this sense of it's no longer about Shinji. He's still the core and the main character and the heart of the story, but it feels like there's a maturity to this story and analyzing how our actions affect others, even though we get a lot of that in definitely end of Evangelion. I feel like truly like the heart of Rebuild, the whole Rebuild series, and especially with Thrice Upon a Time, was analyzing, like, yes, okay, we've already done the psychoanalyzing ourselves and who we are as individuals and what depression does to an individual and what heartbreak does and grief does and yada yada yada. We've been through that, but we really need to, I feel like this film was saying, like, but we really need to focus on how that affects the people around us. Like, you get the pessimistic view of how that, how your inability to self-actualize and your inability to accept yourself, it literally kills humanity, and end of Evangelion. We get that. But this film really, it really wanted to explore something different, and I love that, in this sense of like exploring on a deeper psychological level just how much of your inability to cope or your inability to grow can really impede on the growth of everyone else. But show us that opportunity and what that door and that window looks like when you look through that missed opportunity, and you can see we can actually grow instead, and you can actually see hope. And it was beautiful, man. I really, this film worked for me on a lot of different directions. I think this is probably the weaker one of the Rebuild franchise when it comes to animation and specifically for the action sequences. I think the action sequences were killer in 2 and 3. 2 and 3's action sequences were amazing. And I don't come to Evangelion for the action sequences, but the animation teams were fantastic on 2 and 3. But I just think that when it came to Thrice Upon a Time, the action sequences were a bit messier. A lot of strange usages of CGI, and I don't mean the one for the final battle, which I won't spoil, or the one with a thing that's supposed to represent, directly call back to something from end of Evangelion. Those things are meant to be off-putting in the way their CGI is done, but I just think some of the CGI and action sequences were not the best or the strongest in this film as compared to the other ones. But man, the other animation of just animating the quiet moments and the character moments were just so beautiful. They're just absolutely fantastic. I was truly enraptured with this film. I thought it was great. I really did love it. I had a fantastic time with it. It felt like the perfect ending and this perfect culmination to the ending of everything that's come before it. It's got a lot of flaws. And I'm pretty sure you can nitpick to death the actual plot line and story and all this other stuff. I don't know. Some things just, I don't know. They just don't make any sense at all to me. But on an emotional level, this film extremely resonated with me. I think it was well done in what it was trying to execute. And I guess if I had to throw a rating on there, I don't care about ratings anymore. I just want to talk about the films and how they are. It's like a, 8 or a 9 for me, even though I know it has probably some serious flaws that you can point out. But just sometimes it just hits in the heart, and just things are very well done and orchestrated and acted and portrayed in a way that everything just works. And shout out to the voice actor for Shinji. He did a really good job, and the voice actress for Asuka, and Rei, and Shinji's father, whose name for some reason escapes me at the moment. But yeah, I really did think the vocal performances as well were absolutely fantastic. It was really good. I loved this film, man. I really did love this film. I had such a good time. And like, I get it, there's going to be fans out there, they've been waiting for years to see this movie. Almost 10 years for this film, right? It's like 8 or something like that. I waited like a year. So I guess I didn't have as many expectations. Like, I legit was just like, oh yeah, that movie comes out next weekend. I guess I'll put it on. I guess I'll put it on TV. And then I just binged all the movies just now and then watched it. And I was like, I was satisfied, but I could see how waiting a long time and this movie just sticks with its guns for what it's trying to say and what it's trying to do. I could see how this could rub a lot of people the wrong way, and a lot of people getting caught up in the minutia of the lore and the way it works, I think it'd be a big issue for a lot of people. And if, at the same time, they shot themselves in the foot, because they made the Rebuild films more approachable by getting rid of some of the more, you know, edgy, no pun intended, in a hospital room, certain scenes. You know, they got rid of certain things to, you know, to make it less like big brain concept on certain things, make it more attainable for general audiences to understand a lot of these things and sequences, less dream sequences and things like that, and kind of made it feel, I don't know if Star Wars-y is the best word for it, but more action adventure oriented in certain scenarios, to make you feel like, okay, we're fighting back against the big threat, and we're gonna throw a whole bunch of lore and jargon at you to make you feel like you're part of this crazy sci-fi spiritual world. And you know, I think it works to be an easier, more digestible version of what came before in Neon Genesis and even end of Evangelion. But it kind of ends up, like I said, shooting themselves in the foot, because half of the stuff they say doesn't make any sense. it just doesn't make any sense. And it's just like, I go on the subreddit of all these people who've been here for, you know, like half a decade speculating. They're just like, look, I don't even know what was going on at the end. I'm like, me neither, but it made me cry and I liked it. So I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword with them focusing more on the lore and the world and the effect of others, and not just everything being blindly from Shinji's point of view. But again, like I said, I really loved this film. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to see it again sometime soon. Just like, I kind of want to do a binge through of everything all over again, from Neon Genesis to end of Evangelion, then watching the 4 movies again, because it's just such a crazy ride. It's such a crazy ride with this story. But yeah, guys, that's how I feel. This is a very I feel review. I know, not very technical, shame on me, but sometimes, you know, sometimes it just gets you where it gets you, and that's where this film's got me. It's got me in the heart. So I really enjoyed this movie. I would love to hear your thoughts, especially for people who've actually been waiting this entire time, and not just a dingleberry like me who stumbled upon Evangelion series through Netflix 2 years ago, and I was like, hey, this stuff is pretty good. I see why they were talking about this for, like, 30 years, so let me know what you think about it in the comment sections down below, guys. With that being said, I really, really do appreciate you guys watching this video. I got some more reviews coming soon. Suicide Squad. I don't know what else I've watched recently. There was something else. It'll pop into my brain eventually. But we'll have more reviews on the way. Maybe Cloud will still be here. I don't know. If you made it to the end of this video, type Cloud if you want Cloud to stay for I don't know how long in my videos. I don't know. I'll widen the view and you'll see more Cloud and his massive fusion sword. Who knows? But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I'm Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.